Hello and welcome to the video. I'm so happy to see you here, and today we're going to talk about how to choose materials without regret so that you don't have that situation where you've bought furniture or fixtures or equipment or flooring or paint or something for your ceiling and then you're like, oh no, did I make the right decision? Did I actually waste my money? Do I have to change everything? And if you've ever been in that situation, or if you're trying to avoid that situation, then you are in the right place, and I'm so excited to go through this video with you. I'm Tia from Tia Curran Interiors, and I'm a business management and interior design graduate. So I'm happy to be here and sharing these tips with you. Okay, so the first things first, we're going to go through how we actually choose our materials, and then at the end I have three little questions that we can just ask ourselves, right, to really verify that we are choosing the materials correctly for our needs and our desires. So if you're ready to go into that, I'm going to start now. The little tip that I have for you about how to choose materials, which is quite easy and also really fun, because choosing materials can sometimes be like a headache, or you don't really know what to choose, and you don't even maybe like the questions. Sometimes you could be someone who is even working with a designer, right, and they're asking you what kind of materials you want, and you just don't want to make those decisions, or it's difficult for you to make those decisions. So this is one little simple hack about how you can go ahead and do that. And so the first of those is, the how actually is, I want you to ask yourself, what is the feeling that you want to feel when you're, for example, let's say in your living room, right? What feeling do you want to feel? And here I have this little picture showing warm and cozy, right? So if you want something that is warm and cozy, you have decided that, and then when you go out shopping for flooring, wall coverings, ceiling lights, furniture pieces such as sofas, any console tables, you're going to be keeping that feeling in mind of warm and cozy, warm and cozy. Therefore, you pick materials that are in alignment. For example, things like leather or fur, or really kind of like dark wood, or metals such as bronze, because they're kind of those warm colors, compared to, for example, choosing something like silver, because that is not warm and cozy. Our second feeling that I put for us here is, you could be someone that's looking for something that is smooth and spotless, right? So if you're looking for something that is smooth and spotless, again, you're going to go shopping for materials or deciding on materials if you're working with a designer or a construction person, engineer, or something like that, right? And you're going to be keeping that feeling that you want to have in your space of super smooth and spotless. So all materials you should be choosing will be smooth and spotless. Now, I want you to keep this little image in your mind about smooth and spotless, and then I want to show you where sometimes people go wrong using a few materials that I have here. So here I have like this really nice, beautiful, smooth marble piece, right? And it is smooth, so it fits with this feeling. However, if we're just looking at the picture and we're not thinking about the feeling that we want to have, you also have like this piece right here, right, which is rougher to touch, and it's kind of something that is very textured, definitely is not smooth, and would fit more something like a cottage kind of environment, or like if you really wanted that kind of cottage feel to your house, this would work really, really well. However, if you just look at the materials, I think I might have to change the image here. Just give me a little second. So this, we can see this better. So if we just look at the materials, you see that the colors are not that different. So if you're just someone that's just deciding and you're like, okay, that I have that inspirational image and I'm just going to, this kind of looks like it, so I'll just pick that. Well, and then you go into your house and you don't like the way it is and you don't like how it feels and you're just like, oh, it looks right but it doesn't feel right because you chose the wrong material. And this is where the feeling comes, where you're going for something smooth and shiny, we're going for this. If you're going for something more cottage-like, more earthy, more nature kind of vibes, then maybe you'd pick something like this. So you see, like, even if they're the same colors, kind of in the same color family, the way they feel is very different. So that's how you can choose materials that you will not regret, because you know that you are choosing a material that feels the way you want it to feel. And that has nothing to do with color. For example, I have this little other brown marble piece here, and this one feels, in terms of the texture and the feeling, as smooth as this one. So you will have the same feeling with both of these. However, the only decision you have to make here will be about color. And if you're interested in getting deeper into color and materials as well, my next video will definitely be addressing how to choose the color once you have chosen the material. So definitely look out for my next video, or if you're watching later in the future, then somebody just texted me, but if you're watching this later in the future, then you already have that video, and I'll try and link it down here, or I'm down in the description, or you could also like find it as part of this playlist, so we can see why those material decisions, that feeling decision matters when we're choosing our material. And then going back to a little example about the kind of feeling that you might want to choose or invoke, we also have this, which of course is something like, you might decide you want something that's super fresh and super open, right? So therefore, if you're choosing something fresh, something open, if any materials you're choosing those lightweight materials, those airy materials, materials that look like they could float if the air just blew on them, right? Because I think one mistake that people make when choosing materials is they will think, oh, I want something warm and cozy, and then they go into the store and then they pick maybe let's say a very light linen, but let's say if they pick it in a brown color, they think that's going to make it quite warm, but it makes it quite airy because it's the wrong kind of material. So let me just give you a little example. So let's say you pick this material, right? This is kind of warm and airy, and this is a linen, and then we have here, which is this is a velvet, right? And if I just shake them at the right same tempo, the linen shakes way more, and so that is like airy, that would be light compared to the velvet, right? So this is why the feeling that you want to have really can help you choose the material, because if you're choosing, you want a beautiful, airy, open space, you just feel so spacious and so breezy, and then you go and pick, I don't know, a sofa or curtains or any other piece in your living room, for example, that's in a velvet, all of a sudden it will not feel, will not feel the way that you wanted it to feel, because you want to go for the lighter one. This is a linen, so that's just understanding the feeling that you want to bring to it. And with that, we did talk about that warm and cozy, where velvet, for example, comes in really, really well, is with that warm and coziness, because of the texture. It is quite heavy, and you can imagine, like, think about it like fashion, like, dressing yourself in a nice velvet attire or something like that, it will feel quite warm, right? So kind of like that winter kind of vibe. So the same way you go shopping for clothing, you can also bring that into your interiors, and things like velvet and leather, they all go really well together for that warm and cozy feeling. Of course, you can see here let's say if you chose like a leather ottoman for your living room, and then you went for a velvet sofa, right? And then all of a sudden you have this harmony that comes in with your materials, because everything in your living room is just warm and it's just cozy, and it doesn't matter about the color that you go for, because for example this is another velvet, right? And the feeling of the material is the same. So the color decision is a decision that comes next, but the feeling that we want is that warm and cozy, and the materials are giving us that. In the same way that if we wanted warm and cozy and we went for a linen, well, we will not be warm and cozy. So it's the same thing that the same way that you go ahead and decide materials for fashion and clothing, right? If you're in winter, you're going for warm and cozy, or you're going for smooth and refined instead of cobblestone. Don't let the color match trick you. Don't let the color match trick you. And this is exactly what we're talking about in my next video, that they might look the same in terms of color, but the feeling you have is very different. So always have the feeling in mind. That feeling is very, very important, and it is before the color. Before the color, you want to go for the feeling that you want to have, right? And we'll talk about color in the next video, as I mentioned before. So going back here to see our different feelings that we have. So let's say you have decided on the feeling. Of course you can pick any other feeling you can think of, right? But these are just a few of what came to mind when I was preparing for this video. So let's say you've decided that you want to go for that warm and cozy, right? And then these are the next 3 questions that I talked about at the beginning that we can, ask ourselves. So we already know warm and cozy. We know the materials we're going for. We're going for things such as velvet, things such as leather. We could also go for fur. And if we're thinking about wood and other materials, then we want to go for something warmer in color. Those kind of walnut kind of colors, for example. And also for metals, we're going for things such as bronze or gold, anything that symbolizes warmth. Think about a fire, or this kind of image that I have created here. So yes, so let's assume you have decided on your feeling, you want warm and cozy, and you know the kind of materials that you should go for. This is another little test that you can do to yourself to make sure you've made the right decisions. So the first question I want you to ask yourself is it easy to look after? Because we want the material that we choose to also be right for our lifestyle. So is it easy to look after? And then second question is, what would happen if you were to spill something hot or something cold on it? And then the last question is, will it still look good in a few years? So if you ask yourself these 3 little questions after you have chosen the feeling, then you can, it could be quite easy for you to make the right decisions long term. For example, you could choose, you want something smooth and shiny, but then you decide, okay, I tend to cook with, I don't know, for example, let's say turmeric, right? Because I'm wearing this orange top and it's just reminding me of the turmeric kind of spice, right? So let's say you decide that I cook with a little turmeric, and I'm kind of nervous about spilling it. Of course, there's some materials that are very durable and very protected, but if you just want to keep yourself safe, you can then go ahead and choose the same smooth and feeling, but maybe in a different color. And then all of a sudden you still have smooth and feeling, but with also the safety of your lifestyle, because we don't just want to pick things that look good, we want to pick things that actually fit our lifestyle, and that's when they will age really well. So you can ask yourself, will it still look good in 5 years? Of course, because it's easy to maintain in terms of color, it won't stain as much, and it's durable. So asking yourself those 3 little questions, is it easy to look after? How will it look in a few years? And what would happen if I spilled something hot and cold? And of course, with everything I've said today, don't take it like a Bible or as rules, because interior design is fun. We get to deal with all kinds of fabrics and materials. This is just like, playing, but we want to make things that are like tailor-made, and we're investing our finances into something that we want to last the test of time. So it is important to think about these things. But with that, I just wanted to say this little caveat to say, when we're making our decisions, we want to at least 80% of the items, let's say in our living room, are fitting that feeling of warm and cozy. There will be that time when you were looking for, let's say, a cushion, and even if everything you have is leather and everything else is in a velvet, you just can't find that cushion, for example, that you really like, or that curtain that you really like, and you might go for a, something like linen. It's which doesn't fit warm and cozy. But the point is, 80% of everything you have should fit that feeling, and then the other 20% you can let go of. We don't have to be so controlling and so like uptight, right? So yeah, as long as 80% fits, you can relax about the rest. And with that, my darlings, I shall wish you a happy weekend. It's a Saturday today, but if you're watching this any other day, then have a lovely day, and I shall see you in my next video, where we're going to talk about color and how to choose your colors, even if the material might be the same. And if you're excited about that video, then give this video a like, follow and subscribe, so that you can get more of this kind of content. And if this really excites you, things like knowing more about materials and textures and colors and just interior design in general, then I also do encourage you to check the link down below that has my interior design empowered to design course, and that goes into depth and into detail about everything interior design esque. And so you can definitely become your own interior designer by the end of that video, and armed with all the knowledge that any other professional interior designer would know. So with that, I wish you the best of luck in choosing your materials, and bye for now.